The story that you are about to hear is a compilation of documented true facts, featuring characters, events, or places that has played a role in shaping history. Please sit back and listen as I recite this narrative for you. February 14 is widely celebrated as Valentine's Day, when lovers expresses their love with gifts like flowers, candies, or greeting cards. But for some, this day of celebration has turned tragic and would be their last. On the night of February 14, 2010, Richard Schoek was asked by his wife, Stacey Schoeck, to meet with her at the Belton Bridge Park, Gainesville, Georgia, to exchange Valentine's gifts. Instead, Richard was shot to death in a murder-for-hire plot. In January 2010, Stacey had lunch with her co-worker Lynitra Ross and told her that she wanted to have her husband Richard Schoek killed because she thought that he was molesting her sons. Ross told her that her boyfriend Reginald Coleman could kill him for her. On January 18, 2010, Stacey and Ross met with Coleman at his apartment to discuss their plans and payments for the murder. For the killing, Stacey agreed to pay Coleman $10,000 in cash, a 2009 Chevrolet Impala, and the house that Ross was renting from Stacey. They all agreed that the murder would take place on Valentine's Day and that the murder would be made to appear like a robbery gone wrong. On February 14, 2010, Stacey spoke with Ross at work about transferring the $10,000 to Coleman. Stacey left the office and drove to her grandparents' home, where she had told her husband to meet her by driving there separately. Mr. Schoek arrived at the grandparents' home, and after dinner, he was to drive to Belton Bridge Park separately from Stacey. Stacey would allegedly meet him at the park later that evening to exchange their Valentine's gifts. Stacey confirmed the likelihood that Mr. Schoek was dead when she called his cell phone and he did not answer. Stacey then drove to Belton Bridge Park, where she found Mr. Schoek's truck and his dead body on the ground. Mr. Schoek had been shot 6 times at close range, 3 times in the chest, twice in the head, and once in the hand. However, the scene had not been made to look like a robbery, as Mr. Schoek's money, wallet, watch, and wedding ring had not been taken from him. Stacey called 911 and portrayed herself as distraught to police. It took more than 3 months before police would have enough evidence to arrest Stacey and 2 others for the murder. Mother of 3, Stacey Schoeck, was the mastermind of the murder of her 5th husband and adopted father of her children. Phone records revealed communication between the 3 suspects before, during, and after the crime. Stacey claimed during the trial that she believed her late husband had sexually molested his 14-year-old stepson and that she had herself been sexually abused when she was young, contributing to her motive for murder. That allegation has not been proven. Prosecutors argued that her motive was Richard Schoek's $500,000 life insurance policy, as well as an extramarital affair with her co-worker Juan Reyes, to which she confessed. Lynitra Ross was sentenced to life without parole for acting as the go-between in the plot to kill Mr. Schoek. The accused hitman, Reginald Coleman, pleaded guilty to malice murder and was sentenced to life without parole. Coleman also pleaded guilty to possession of a firearm during the commission of crime and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. He was sentenced to 5 years on the first count and 5 concurrent years on the second. Prosecutors agreed to not pursue the death penalty for Stacey's cooperation and testimony in the Ross trial. Stacey Schoeck is currently serving a life sentence. On February 14, 2009, Tiana Notice was brutally stabbed by her ex-boyfriend, James Carter. Notice and Carter met on an internet dating site. After 6 months of dating, Carter was sentenced to 5 months in jail for domestic abuse of a previous girlfriend, and Tiana learned he has a rap sheet for numerous other violent crimes including assault. It was at this time that Tiana realized that James actually had a long history of many violent crimes including assault. Additionally, Tiana suspected that James was cheating on her. She eventually decided to end her relationship with him, but unfortunately, he was not ready to let her go. James continued to harass Tiana after their breakup. She would frequently spot him sitting in his car outside of her apartment building and following her while she took shopping trips. When Tiana finally confronted James about it, he grew so irate that he actually took a restraining order against her. He reportedly told police that Tiana had assaulted him. Tiana denied his allegations, and even though James is the one who took the restraining order out on her, he continued to harass her via email. James sent her threatening emails saying things such as God is my witness, punishment is on the way, so be prepared. And, you will have bad luck, you hear me? Remember this email when karma bites you in the ass. Tiana went to police after receiving these emails to report James for violating the restraining order. The police did not take her seriously, and she was told that the emails that James sent were non-threatening. James continued to harass Tiana via phone and email, and she repeatedly went to the police for help. According to Tiana's mother, she went to the police 33 times in a 6-week period, but no action against James was ever taken. Things continued to escalate from there. One day, upon leaving her apartment, Tiana discovered that her car had been vandalized. Once again, police told her that they were not going to take any action against James because they had no proof that he was the one who did it. From there, Tiana and her family decided to take matters into their own hands. Her father helped her set up a surveillance camera at her apartment building's parking lot. When Tiana returned home from work the next evening, she found a handwritten note at her apartment door that stated, "Tiana, forgive me. I never cheated on you. If I'm lying, may God take my life. Forgive me for everything else I have done." Unfortunately, the videotape inside the surveillance camera had run out at this point, and they did not capture anybody entering the building to tape the note to the door. Still, the police finally decided to take action at this point, and they attempted to contact James to have him provide a handwriting sample that they could compare to the note. James grew enraged once he realized that Tiana had called the police on him. On February 14, 2009, James lurked around Tiana's apartment complex waiting for her to come home. Once she arrived, James ambushed Tiana and stabbed her 20 times before fleeing the scene. She was still somehow able to make a phone call to 911. Tiana told dispatchers, "I'm bleeding to death. My ex-boyfriend just stabbed me to death." She lost consciousness shortly thereafter and was rushed to the hospital once paramedics showed up. Just a few hours later, she passed away. It did not take long for investigators to identify James as a suspect. He was arrested and charged with Tiana's murder shortly thereafter. He was eventually sentenced to 60 years in prison, and he remains behind bars today. On February 14, 2007, Stephen Grant called the Macomb County Sheriff's Office in the county seat Mount Clemens, Michigan, to report that his wife, Tara Lynn Grant, had been missing for 5 days. According to Grant, This is not the first time that his wife left home and that he overheard Tara on the phone stating that she'll meet that person at the end of the driveway. He said he saw her get into a dark-colored car that drove off and that he had not seen or heard from her since. Over the following 2 weeks, Stephen Grant made numerous media appearances, at times accusing authorities of harassment. The day after reporting Tara missing, Grant was stopped by police and arrested for driving with a suspended license. He accused police of using the traffic arrest as an excuse to take him into custody to question him further about Tara's disappearance. Police denied the accusation. They were holding daily press conferences during the search for Tara. According to police, Stephen Grant was less than cooperative with them during their early investigation. He initially refused to answer questions, but agreed to take a polygraph test if it was administered by someone other than the police. On March 2, 2007, police executed a search warrant at the home of Stephen and Tara Grant in Washington Township, Michigan. They found a dismembered human torso, believed to be that of Tara Grant, stored in a plastic garbage bag in the garage. They immediately gained an open murder arrest warrant for Stephen Grant, who had already fled the scene. They had not yet determined the degree of the charges. More body parts were found the following day, at least 2 miles from the home in a wooded area in Stony Creek Metro Park, where a search a week ago turned up nothing. It appeared attempts had been made to hide the body parts. 2 days later, after tracking a cell phone call that Stephen made to his sister, police found the suspect 225 miles away in northern Michigan's Wilderness State Park. He had taken liquor and pills from his sister's house, intending to commit suicide. After driving to the park, he spent the night in the freezing cold with no outer clothing for protection. After being taken into custody, he was airlifted by helicopter to Northern Michigan Hospital in Flint for treatment of hypothermia. In a press conference on March 5, Mark Hackle, sheriff of McCobb County, discussed a confession that Grant had made to them in the hospital. He confessed to police in detail about strangling his wife Tara to death on the night of February 9 after an argument in which he had accused her of spending too much time with a co-worker. She had returned that day from a business trip to Puerto Rico. Their 2 children were at home but were asleep in bed. Grant later dismembered her body at his father's tool and die shop. He took the remains to nearby Stony Creek Metro Park in Shelby Township and disposed of body parts there. But after learning the police planned to search the park, Grant recovered the torso of his wife and hid these remains in black plastic garbage bags in their garage. On March 6, 2007, Grant was formally charged with count 1 homicide, murder in the first degree that is premeditated, and with count 2 dismemberment and or mutilation of a dead body. On April 13, 2007, the McCobb County prosecutor released Stephen Grant's 2-part confession publicly, a transcript of the interview with detectives and his own handwritten confession. Details included his arguing with his wife over his jealousy about her spending time with a co-worker. He also said that he had been having an affair with Verana Dierkens, the family's 19-year-old au pair from Germany. As the argument escalated, Grant strangled Tara in anger. He also described his efforts to dismember her body and hide it after he had notified the police of her disappearance. On Friday, December 21, 2007, Stephen Grant was found guilty on the charge of murder in the second degree and will be eligible for parole. On Thursday, February 21, 2008, he was sentenced to a minimum of 50 years in prison. No matter how we choose to celebrate Valentine's Day, please stay safe out there. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Hey everyone! I just wanted to express how grateful I am that you took the time to listen to my narration. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I am Twisted Mind and please enjoy the rest of your day. Salamat!